As promised, I basically became a Google Flow video tool tester and checked out all 10 standard options. But the interesting part of this tutorial was not simply using the default versions, it was tweaking them with my own settings. Because honestly, quite a few of these presets are not really my thing. If you do not know Google Flow yet, I would recommend watching my last tutorial first. That is where I explain how to get started with the platform. But since today is all about the video tools, I will scroll straight down here. This is where we find the 10 presets I just mentioned, and if you pay a little attention, you will notice pretty quickly that many of them are about effects, text, and transitions. So basically changing or polishing an existing video in your own way. But that is only one side of it. With Remix or Create New, you can also build your own custom video tools called My Tools, and all of that with just a prompt and, if you feel like it, a bit of patience to fine-tune the whole thing. First up, shader effects. We click the tile and boom, this empty interface pops up. Right in the middle there is a button basically nudging us to upload a video, so that is the obvious first move. Otherwise, talking through the rest of the features would be kind of pointless. For this one, I am using the video with the guy we already know from the intro. Quick orientation. The general settings are sitting on the right. If you want to upload another video, hit replace. Reset does exactly what you think it does. If you want to give the video its own color vibe, switch on colorize below. That opens a color menu with quite a bit going on, from this glowing lava lamp look to light blue and pink cyberpunk, all the way to this color style called Deep Sea. And if you want to take it one step further, you can dial in your own settings, for example for a client's corporate design, and save them with the little disk icon. Below that, we have what Flow calls finishing. Basically, these are global settings that stay active no matter which filter effect we choose on the left. There is a lot packed in here. Bloom, contrast, saturation, color temperature, the whole little control room buffet. What I personally like a lot is the vignette, because that subtle shadow around the edges gives an otherwise pretty flat video a bit more focus. Bottom right, we have the export options. Capture frame lets you save a specific still image to your project. Just pause the video with the control bar below, find the frame you want, and hit capture frame. But if you need the full video, use export MP4. Only then does the modified film become downloadable in your project folder. Now to the main thing, the filters on the left. We get 10 default versions here, from Ghost to ASCII, LUT to Dither. A lot of it definitely sits more on the experimental side, and is probably not what you would use in a normal video production every day, but still it is worth checking out. What they all have in common is this. Once you pick a filter, you get extra controls below it. I will show this with halftone. If I move the grid size slider, this happens. Dot radius and contrast can be pushed around in the same way. And keep in mind, we already set the vignette on the right, so that now kicks in as an extra global effect. Of course, you can always turn it off again. Besides halftone, I also find VHS pretty interesting as a default effect. It can save you a decent chunk of time in post-production, whether you are working in Premiere Pro, After Effects, or something similar. But honestly, these default shader effects are not enough for me. I'll want to build my own video tool. So we go back out, click shader effects again, then Remix tool at the top center, and finally Edit, also at the top center. On the left, we still see all the preset filters. For me, that is just too much, and I do not need most of them anyway. As I just showed you, the halftone effect is pretty cool, but only once I tweak it properly. Do I want to redo those settings every single time? Yeah, absolutely not. So, together with ChatGPT, I create the following prompt. Remove all presets and create 2 new ones. First, halftone 2.0 with predefined parameters. And second, CCTV. I copy this work instruction into the prompt box in the bottom right corner of Google Flow. After a short moment, I get this new interface. Now, when I upload a video here, again, a guy with a yak herd, and then choose the halftone 2.0 filter, I get this result. Pretty stylish, almost like a screen display. If I replace the video, for example with this husky here, and choose halftone 2.0 again, the look stays completely consistent. Same thing with the CCTV effect. And do not forget to adjust the vignette. That gives the whole thing a much more cinematic fingerprint. We head back to the tools and this time pick Type Overlays. Again, an empty interface opens up and asks for input. So we start by uploading a video. Our guy with the yaks is already waiting. As the tool name pretty much gives away, this one is all about putting text on top of video. The first type overlay is already built in. If you want to see what is happening, first pause the video with the control bar. Then move your mouse over the white circle, hold the mouse button, and drag it left or right. That way, you do not have to play through the whole clip every time. If you want to change how long the text stays visible on the video, go to the right end of the grey bar and drag it to the spot you want. Now for a few basics. In the top right area, you can change the actual text. Under Design, you get the font size, and a few other text-related settings. You can tweak the text color or adjust the opacity of the video. One really important setting here is position. Instead of moving everything by hand every single time, just pick one of the 9 placement options. That way, you know the text always lands in the same spot. But if you are more of a drag it around kind of person, you can also move it directly on the video with drag and drop. If you want to add more text blocks to your video, just click Add Text in the list on the right. The new text container snaps right after the first existing text block. And of course, you can adjust and move this one the same way. If you want to delete a text block again, use the small trash icon on the right, or just hit the delete key. Now the text animation part gets a bit more interesting. Click Animate right next to Design. Then select the grey text segment you want to edit in the control bar below. And on the right, you can change the transition type, kinetic behavior, apply by, smoothing, and timing. At the end, hit Render Video so your edited video gets saved into your project folder. Depending on the filter type and how complex things get, this can take a little while. There is quite a bit of potential in this tool, especially once you think about what you could do with remix and deeper customization. But even in the standard mode, it is already useful for adding text to presentations. With the third video tool, pixelBento, things start getting pretty experimental. The interface currently gives us 13 different options. Unlike shader effects, this one lets you stack multiple filters at the same time. To get started, click Load Media in the black area. Then we have the usual basics again. Replace media above the video if you want to use another clip, and below that the familiar capture frame and export options. Now to the main thing, the filters. This time they sit on the right, marked with coloured blocks. If you click the little toggle on the left side of a tile, the filter turns on. If you click the filter name, a drop-down opens and shows you what else is available. Some of these effects already feel pretty familiar. A few of them let you set very specific accents in colour and overall look. So yes, there is definitely some room to play around here. But for a regular user who just wants a quick result, this might already be a bit much. The fact that you have to control things with these rotary knobs does not exactly make it easier. And quite a few of the effects are, let me put it this way, not exactly easy on the eyes. Tool number 4 is Poster Designer. And yeah, the name is a bit of a stretch, because when you hear poster, you usually think of something printed on ad columns, sidewalk signs, framed displays, or big billboards. This here is really more like a digital display builder. In a way, it is a direct rival to type overlays, and the control panels are almost the same too. The main difference is really the visual setup. If you already got comfortable with type overlays, this one is pretty easy to handle. Right at the start, it makes sense to check which document format you actually need. To do that, click the little canvas label in the control bar at the bottom. Over on the right, you can then define the size and the background color. Once that is done, it is time to build the content of this digital display. For that, click the small plus icon next to Layers on the right. Here you can choose between 3 media types, or really 4 depending on how you count them. Text in blue, media in purple for video and pink for images, and solid in orange. You can also change the layer order with the small arrows. Whatever sits at the top is also visually in front. If you use text, and the first text field is already there by default, you can define the font style, size, alignment, and placement on the right under Design. Under Animate, you can set the effect, timing, and duration. If you want to change the actual text itself, just use the input field in the top right corner. If you use media, you can add more images or videos. For both media types, the panel on the right gives you options like size, position, opacity, and blend mode. The subject extraction feature tries to cut things out, but to be honest, the results are kind of hit and miss. Solid, in the end, is just a single color shape with pretty basic settings. Also worth mentioning, in the top right area next to the poster, you get buttons for upload, export, a random text effect, and screenshot, which is basically capture frame. Overall, it is a pretty nice little tool for fast concepts or rough mock-ups. We head back to the tool overview and pick tool number 5, Video Sketch. First thing, same as always, upload a file. We do that with the button in the top right corner. Right below it, we find the Layers section. By default, there's already one layer in there. If I want, I can add more sketch layers by clicking Add Sketch, and more text layers by clicking Add Text. These added layers also show up down in the control bar. The teal segment stands for sketch, so basically our line drawing, and the grey segment stands for text. If you want to change the length of the individual segments, click the matching layer in the top right panel and then adjust the length and position down in the control bar. Technically, you could also click these fields directly down here, but that stops working once they sit right on top of each other. If you want to remove layers again, just click the small trash icon in the top right panel. Starting with the text layer, the settings are pretty basic. First the font, then font size, color, position, effect, and timing. But text isn't really the main thing here, because as the tool name already says, this one is about video sketching. To work on that, click the layer in the top right panel or the segment in the bottom left area. Think of it like this. There's a glass plate sitting on top of your video, and you can scribble your ideas right onto it. For that, you get two tools, brush and eraser. The brush is basically a real brush with adjustable color, width, and opacity. Just go onto your video and start drawing. You can also use multiple colors. Just keep in mind, every drawing sits on the same layer, and whatever you draw last is visually on top. The eraser, though, isn't really an eraser in the classic sense. It's more like a tool for selecting individual drawing steps and deleting them. Just move your cursor over one of your little creations and click it. Right below that, we find Undo, Redo, and Clear. I think those three pretty much explain themselves. Now to the main feature of the tool, the effects. So far, we've had none selected, which means nothing moves. If I choose Fade, the sketch fades in according to the timing I set. Draw In traces the line exactly the way I drew it, and Jitter makes the line wiggle the whole time. You can also tweak the frequency and scale for that. I actually think this effect is pretty cool, especially if you use arrows to point attention to certain parts of the video. Combining these effects isn't possible in the standard version, and if you want to render the video, just click the white button in the bottom right corner. The default text animation settings in Video Sketch are pretty basic. There's None, Fade, and Appear. So the obvious move is to use the Remix tool feature at the top center. Click it, then hit Edit, and drop your instruction into the prompt box in the bottom right corner. In my case, I wanted two new text animations, Wrap Style and Comic Style. And if we now look under Animation Styles, yep, there they are. The AI even added its own font in the typography section for that. Of course, you could take this further and tweak other parts too, for example the sketch animation. Just tell the AI what you want and check whether it actually builds your Video Sketch 2.0 the way you had it in mind. The next tool, Transition Machine, is one of the more minimal ones. We get one big screen with two input areas. On the left, clip 1, so basically the starting video. On the right, clip 2, the ending video. For the transition length, you can choose 4, 6, or 8 seconds. Now upload a video into both fields. The AI then analyzes the end frame of the first video and the start frame of the second video, and from that, it creates what it thinks is a useful transition. Don't just hit Generate Transition right away. First, read the prompt in the middle. If the two videos are too far apart thematically, you'll usually get something like this as an instruction. zoom very close into one area, and move through the image into another motif. In other words, it zooms into an area that somehow matches the next video by colour or texture. So the man's fur turns into the husky landscape. Bright fur becomes bright ground. If you want, you can delete the prompt in the middle completely and write your own. The AI will then analyse your input and rewrite it into something it understands. Whether that gives you the result you actually want is another question, so don't go too wild here. My first attempt with the camera rotates 180 degrees gave me this pretty useless result. My second attempt with the camera dollies to the right was better, but still not really what I wanted. This is where prompt refinement really matters. My final attempt, using the same start and end video and leaving the AI-generated prompt unchanged, gave me this result. My thought was basically, come on buddy, just make a loop. But somehow, there was always a fade sneaking in. No matter if it works or not, every video has a VO logo in the bottom right corner. Now things get pretty weird, which is actually perfect because that's exactly the name of tool number 7, Weirdcore. On the left, you've got the area where you upload your video, and on the right, the effects, with names ranging from fry, contrast crunch, to echo, temporal ghosting. By default, fry is already turned on at the start, so the moment you upload a video, that effect kicks in right away. With add effect, you can stack another layer on top, or you can hit random and let the AI do its thing. In that case, it throws 3 random effect types with matching settings into the so-called effect stack. You can still tweak those parameters manually with the sliders below, but overall this whole thing is pretty experimental. If you're into messing around and seeing what happens, you'll probably find something interesting in here. Just like with the other tools, you can change the order of the effects with the little arrows, toggle them on and off with the eye icon on the left, or remove them completely with the X. And down in the bottom right corner, there's the render button, which by now we already know. Tool number 8 does exactly what the name says, Video Resizer. Nothing more, nothing less. First, upload a video. If needed, you can replace it in the top right corner. Then choose the output ratio. Click one of the alignment options, and if the framing still feels a bit off, just drag the video into the right position with your mouse. After that, hit export. Since there's also a custom option for the format, you can get pretty precise results here. That's especially handy when you need several video clips for a website, and they all have to match in size, at least in terms of aspect ratio. But don't expect this to work like Topaz Video or any similar tool. This isn't some magic upscale machine. The next tool is basically a rough editing program, or maybe better, a tool for stitching short video clips together. First, you choose a file from your library via import, or you upload an external file. In both cases, it has to be a video file. Images don't work here. On the right, we get the global settings for aspect ratio, scaling, and duration. At the bottom, there's the so-called timeline, where the individual clips are placed one after another in a very basic way. And by one after another, I really mean upload another video and boom, it shows up down there in the sequence. If you want, you can add text with the Add Text button below the video on the right, or by using the cursor in the timeline. But the text feels more like an actual interruption, almost like a separate chapter card. There's no smooth blend with the video. And the shuffle button is honestly pretty pointless. Why would I build a sequence only to let random assignment mess up the segments again? Oh, and if you still want to edit the text, just click the field down in the timeline and then work on it over on the right. There you can change the actual content, font size, color, position, and duration. This tool is probably meant for quick video cuts with hard text inserts. My take on it is basically, okay, if someone needs it, they'll probably find a use for it. We're pretty much on the home stretch now, so let's look at the last standard video tool, Video Granulator. The full name is actually Video Granular Synthesizer, and yeah, the name already gives it away again. This one is very experimental. I'll keep this one short, because at some point you've kind of seen enough sliders, filters, and effects for one day. After uploading a video, you can adjust the settings on the right. In the Granulator section, for example, you can change the speed. Under audio effects, you get things like reverb, delay, and similar stuff. Under visual effects, there's echo, smear, and more of that kind of thing. To be honest, the other filter tools are much more user-friendly, and these rotary knobs don't exactly help sell the whole experience. Most users work with a keyboard and mouse. Someone sitting there with real knobs instead of buttons is probably not the standard setup. And finally, one more test where I tried to build a completely custom video tool inside Google Flow. For that, we go back to the tool overview, click My Tools at the top center, and then Create New in the top left corner. Then you paste your instructions into the prompt field at the bottom and let the AI do its thing. The idea was this: upload a video, pick a new setting, let Nano Banana Pro create the image, and then generate the matching video from that. Basically, motion from the source video plus the look and feel from the modified image. You could almost call it Google Flow Motion Control. But no matter how often I tried, no matter how many rounds I went through with the AI, no matter how deep I went into the Google video guidelines, and no matter how often I asked the AI for more precise wording and clearer instructions, it just didn't work. I'll still show you the interface. It's built as a 4-tile grid. Top left, you upload the source video. Then I choose a new look, for example, snow. Nano Banana Pro then creates the image. You can see it here on the right, the husky in the snow. And when I click Generate Video, the modified results should appear in the bottom right tile. When asked directly, Google Flow's own AI agent basically confirms the pattern. It seems much more comfortable with technical video modifications than with rebuilding an existing video as a completely new AI-generated scene. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening. Your channel, AI. Now you know.